It's Brian here with White Deer Innovation. In this episode, I have a discussion with Ailene Fields, who's a sculptor and one of the founders of Skylands Museum of Art. In our discussion, we talk a little bit about how Ailene came to find herself sculpting, a little bit about her process and what it is for her to express herself through her stone carving. And she also touches a little bit on how some of the pieces came to be into this museum, a little bit of the philosophy and kind of way of life that led to what this space is and kind of what her expressions are through her arts. Some of the storytelling, some of the history, and really the life that comes through these pieces, both hers and the other artists that are on display here. So without me talking anymore now, let's go ahead and get into the episode. Of thanking you for taking the opportunity, taking the time, and inviting us in.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Have this together, but I'd like to just kind of hand it over to you of just a little bit of how you found yourself in the arts.
How I found myself in the arts. I was an English major. I always wrote. I wrote stories. I wrote poetry. My last year of college, my husband was in a car accident, and I took a pottery class to relax. And I started working with this clay, and it was magical. It was so healing and so wonderful. And I came home and said, I'm not going for my master's. I'm going to be a potter. And I had only done hand building. I really didn't like the wheel. I was doing hand building. And a man named Bruno Lucchese was teaching in Manhattan. And a bunch of people brought me his book and said, you have to see this. He was doing the figure in clay. And he was teaching at the new school, and I signed up for a class. I was already a potter for a couple of years by then. And I walked into this room, and there was a naked man in the middle of the room. And I looked around and thought, what am I doing here? I had no experience. But I stuck with him for about 2 years, and I would take home my pieces and add horns and tails and make them into mythological characters because I knew those characters so well from all of my studies in English literature, because I was a minor in mythology. And he said to me, you know what you want to do and what you want to say, go study anatomy. And he sent me to Sculpture Center, which was also in Manhattan on 69th Street. And I did 18 months of sculpting muscles and bones and a skeleton. And at the same time continued with the clay work, because I knew clay from the pottery. And the director of Sculpture Center was a stone carver. And he kept saying, you have to try this. And I kept saying, no way. I'm not going to carve stone. I don't know anything about stone. Who carves stone? I'm a clay person. And he just annoyed me so much that I finally bought a stone. And it was upstairs. It was a 3-floor brownstone. And I went upstairs and started carving, and it was astounding. It was astounding. It was like looking at a cloud and seeing something in a cloud. But all of a sudden you would see something in a stone, and you could peel away the layers and find it in there. And I just fell in love. It's an amazing experience to find something in a stone. And it's always different. Every single stone is different, and you never know what you're going to find in there. So it's wonderful. So that was, it was a door I opened. I had no idea that I was going to do this with my life.
So when you're saying just about graduating college was the first time that you started with a physical medium?
You never
really played with?
I did as a child. My brother insists, I have no memory of this now. This is my brother's word, that I used to make mermaids out of clay on the beach in the summers, and that I was always interested in these creatures and the mythology. And but I never thought my brother really, he went to Pratt and he drew beautifully. And I never was able to do that. I was a writer. And so I didn't think of myself as an artist that way.
Sure.
It just kind of happened. It happened. And I let it happen because it was just so, it's still, not just now. I mean, but the whole process, every minute that I'm in my studio, I am gloriously happy. Even when I'm frustrated. It's the whole process of creating something from nothing is the most interesting thing you can do.
That's one. So one of the things that's kind of standing out to me in this is it seems like your passion of these stories or these beings or this energy was always there.
Yes. Yes,
The
I was always the
expression is
strange
what
kid.
changed over
Yes,
time.
yes. I always loved, my father used to love all of the science fiction movies. My mother hated them. So I used to go with my father to the movies. We'd sneak out and go see all of the dragons and monsters and all this things. But I always rooted for the monsters.
Can you elaborate?
I liked the dragons. I liked the beasts. I didn't ever see them as evil. You know, they were always portrayed. One of my favorite books is Grendel, which shows the Beowulf monster, you know, from Grendel's story, from Grendel's point of view, that the monsters aren't really monsters. So when I do dragons, they are your friends. They want to lick you in the face. You want to take them home. You know, and so, but that's always been since I was a little girl. I was rooted for the underdog, I guess. You know,
So I'm curious if you don't mind me kind of picking into your child
no,
view of
that's
these
yeah,
things.
I still have the same view.
But with that view, when you're saying that you rooted for them, did you say like maybe you switched which was the good team and bad team?
I think
or,
so.
Okay, so it's not just
well,
level
no,
the
it wasn't.
playing
Well,
field.
because I can't say that because I didn't make the good guys bad, but
Right, 'cause that's what I was curious.
I found that I rooted for Mother Nature. I rooted for the things that we take for granted. I rooted for the earth, for the flowers, I used to make my children crazy. I would look under every leaf, every rock. I'd drag them around. Don't you see this? Did you see that? Did you look at this? You know, but I've always been that. Always, I was that way as a child. But I didn't know that I was going to be doing this and expressing it this way.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yes, it's always been there. It's always been there.
Awesome. Thank you, one, for sharing that, but two, for the expression of that. Because that's something that me personally, I have a similar affinity to, of like you're saying, rooting for the bad guys. I kind of have aversion to anything that feels dark or nasty or whatever.
Right.
But for me, it's not always the one that's labeled as bad.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't, because certainly with animals, they are not good or evil.
Right.
They are. That's Baba Yaga. Is not good or evil. She's just a spirit.
Right.
Okay, an earth spirit. And I think often it was the humans who were more destructive.
Right. And it's from the human perspective of that story, my understanding of it anyway, that will look evil.
Yes.
From your evil side. Oh no, that's a bad thing. It'll destroy us.
Right.
Yeah, it will destroy your evil.
Yeah,
that doesn't make it evil.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the pieces in that room being explained, some of the story of some of them. I think it's very kind of interesting, moving how.
Well, she was always a witch that I was afraid of as a kid. I wanted to be noble of spirit so she wouldn't eat me. So when I finally got to do her, I had to figure it out how to do it. And then I was in the gallery with Neil, and he was talking about Damien Hirst and said Baba should eat him. And that started, I said, oh, well, I don't usually do pieces like that, but okay. in this case, I'll make an exception.
So that kind of sparked the inspiration
for those pieces, yes.
Collection.
The other stories are just stories that I loved and wanted to tell from my point of view. So there's often a little bit of a change to the original story, but that's what stories are about. They evolve over time, and they take the kernel of an idea and it changes through time, but people don't change all that much. So all of those old stories are still valid.
Mm-hmm.
There's still ways to live in the world and teach you how to live in the world.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I want to circle back to kind of some of the discussion we had right before we started recording of you saying that someone had mentioned about like how a lot of these pieces are dark.
Yeah, someone came in today and said that a lot of the pieces were dark, and I don't think there are any pieces really that are dark here. I think they show a different side of things. They make people think about things. You often get someone else's point of view about things from hearing how they relate to what they're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a writing class here not that long ago, and the things that people felt about the work and wrote about the work brought us to tears. It was so moving having the art reach people that way
Mm-hmm.
and bring out what they needed to see and needed to feel. It was wonderful. It was really wonderful.
Would you say is that what you just shared is kind of the observer, the viewer of the art is going to interpret that piece based on their own stuff?
Absolutely.
Is that something that
Yes.
you kind of felt
We
play
are
out through
absolutely.
your whole career at this
Well,
point?
it's not in the beginning because I didn't even know I was really going to do this for a career, but certainly over the years, the way that other people respond to the work based on their own experiences always adds to that. It's wonderful. It's wonderful because they bring their own trauma, their joy, anything that's feelings to how they experience what I've already done. And it adds another dimension. It's wonderful. It's really wonderful. And insightful because you learn something about someone else through how they perceive your work.
You seem really open, at least at this point, that I'm curious if when people had some of their other perspectives at different times, if it was ever hard for you when you're like, no, that's not what this piece says, or if you didn't have that attachment.
I never did. I mean, I knew what it said for me. And it's always interesting to hear someone else's point of view because it just adds a different layer to the piece that you've already done. And since hopefully you're reaching people, what you never want is somebody just walk by and not care. Okay, so if you're reaching someone and they're looking at your piece and feeling something, that's like finishing the piece because you've done your job. You've done your job. You've reached out and touched someone else's feelings and emotions.
That's beautiful. And I like how you're saying that, like, the finishing of that piece, you can't really do.
No.
It doesn't happen until
it needs
that
the
connection.
audience. It needs the audience. If it's in a closet, it does something for me, but
Sure.
it never does something else.
You might be done with it, but it's not quote finished.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's kind of had me slipping inside. I had something else we were just on, but it's just so beautiful that I'm going to sit with that for a moment.
Okay.
I guess, yeah, stepping back into when you got into this art, it was for you. And it seems like that's carried through this whole time.
Well, any artist who says that it's not for them is not telling the truth.
Or they're probably
because we're all of us, no, come on, we're all of us saying, look at what I did.
Sure.
Okay, that's a part of being an artist is look at what I did and look at the way I see the world. This is what I think. So of course it's always ego to begin with. But what happens when someone does that and then you have that response, that's the second level. That's the other level. That's where you've reached someone and they're touched by what you do on some level.
Going all the way back to you shared when you first started the pottery, was following an incident of kind of you needed an outlet for your own mental health.
Yes, I am. Yes.
Was that at that time still kind of coupled with that, look what I did?
Not in the beginning, because it wasn't good. I wasn't that proud of it. It wasn't about that. It was really just I need to just get out of the world for a little while.
Yeah, you needed something to get lost.
Something else. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the same thing, like
just relax.
Most
just
of
relax.
your pieces in here are stone.
Yes.
And you shared that you had no concept of, and then no interest in when it was first introduced to you.
No.
And then it seems to be the thing that
Well,
has occupied
at the
your practice.
moment, I want to do it for as long as I can. My plan is maybe in my 90s to go back to clay because I won't be able to carve anymore. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm not giving it up yet. We'll see. So I love the stone. I love finding stuff in stone. I like working in clay still. I still do bronze. I still do clay. I do resin. On any given day, I walk into my studio and I don't know what I'm going to feel like doing. So it's not that planned.
So,
but for now, as long as I can carve, I'm going to carve.
And talking about how you're saying it's like starts with that look what I did, look what I can do,
Right.
and wanting to share it.
Right.
With the stone, it's kind of look what I found almost.
It's almost look what I found.
Yeah,
not quite though, because it's
look what I released from this stone is almost
exactly
more, yeah.
Exactly. It's especially when I would teach, everybody's afraid of stone because they're afraid they're going to break it, they're going to do something wrong.
And take too much off this part, you can't put it back on. You
can't put it back on, but you make it smaller, and it's so slow. The process is so slow that you have time to kind of change your mind and move things around. So but the process of there are a couple of ways to do stone. Often people will make a small model, maquette, and then they'll copy that model. And when you send pieces to the Italians do that in Italy, so they make a small model and then it's pointed and made larger or smaller or done in the stone. I don't do that. I do direct carving. So I draw on the stone a little bit. I look at the stone for a long time, and then I draw on the stone and try to release what I have drawn. And so you have a lot of time to change your mind and shift things around. It's not instant. When you're working in clay, you can do that. You can lay up something fairly quickly. With a stone, you have to like the process. You have to like the work. It's
That's one thing I'm just thinking of in today's day and age. The American culture is much more instant gratification, very fast. Carving stone is not.
But a lot of people, we're finding, I have full classes because a lot of people are sick of pushing buttons. I think they want something different from pushing buttons. They want something that's not so instant. They want to go back to something that they make with their hands. And it's been very interesting to see because we have a lot of people now who work all day and then come bang on rocks in the evening, and first of all, it's good for your aggression, but that's a separate thing because you have to have some control, otherwise you'll destroy your piece. But it's an interesting turn of events in the last few years that I've seen that people are looking for this. They're looking for this. Yes, they really want. And people are interested in seeing things also that people make with their hands, that they do with their own, that humans are doing.
Right, that's not machine made or cookie cutter.
And I have nothing against the machines. I use an air hammer to carve. If Michelangelo had one, he would have used it.
Right.
It's wonderful. It speeds you up. But we just did a class on AI in stone carving where the machine will carve the piece, but someone has to do that piece first.
Right.
Okay. And the machine doesn't do the piece. It's hard for, that's good for moldings, when they buildings, pieces, all of those things that are done by machine, it speeds up the process so people can have beautiful ornamentation without having someone take 25 years to make a little piece for their building. So it's got good things going for it. It's a tool. And the problem is when it ceases being a tool and becomes the thing. That's the difference.
Yeah.
So I have nothing against tools.
Right.
I use a lot of them.
But I feel like from what you're sharing is people are shifting back into, I don't need a tool for everything.
I think so. I think they want things that they do with their hands, the things that are not just, again, button pushing. And certainly stone carving is not instant gratification.
Definitely not.
And I think people need it. They need it. So, and they seem to really, it makes them happy. So just to say that, look at what I did, right?
Well,
So
you also
good.
shared for you, it'll do that too. And not even just at that finish point or at that point when someone's observing, but you even said through your frustrations,
Oh
while you're
yes.
working
Oh
on it,
yes.
you're still
Yes.
enjoying the process.
Because it's I took that frustration and I turned it into something beautiful, hopefully, instead of going to war or whatever.
Yeah. And that's
Right.
for me as someone who I don't necessarily identify as an artist, not to any extent like this, but of it's a means of expression. It's a means of releasing what you have in you. And sometimes you
Absolutely.
need a medium to get it out. And
Yes.
it might be
Yes.
play.
Well, you can write, you can do music, you can do theater. All of those things are what humans do to express themselves.
And sometimes it's banging on some rocks.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, that's so you kind of I'll say you brushed over that pretty briefly of you got a stone and then you found that and then you've just been doing it since. But do you mind giving any of like what your experience, what it's like for you working with the stone?
Oh,
If you can put it to words.
I'm not sure I can. I haven't because I'm not sure there are words for that.
Mhm.
Something happens. It's magic. It's magic. You start carving and you're somewhere else. First of all, you have to concentrate so much on what you're doing because you can't take once you take it off, it's gone. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in a place where you're in deep concentration and you're sweating because it's hard work. And it's heavy and you're shifting things around and you're looking at things and you're backing up and you're stopping and you sometimes takes weeks and weeks and weeks. And there are times when I will step back and think, where did that come from? Okay. There are times when I have an idea and I go in and I do that idea, and that's a different feeling. But every once in a while, something happens where it's coming through you. I know that sounds corny.
Well,
but it's coming through you.
I want to ask you a little bit about have you noticed that there's different things that help you access that? Is it the space that you're in? Is it just getting into the mode of it?
No, I
before?
have to. Sometimes, if there's a lot going on in life, I have to sit in the studio for about a half an hour before I start anything. But I try to get the day-to-day things done before I ever go to the studio because I need to have a clear head. And once I get there and I put my headphones on, I'm somewhere else. There's nothing that it doesn't matter where I am as long as I have my rock and my chisels and my.
Yeah. You can get lost in.
Yeah, because I've had different studios in different places. It's kind of like people say to me when I used to have this tiny little kitchen and I'd make these huge meals, and I'd say it's got a stove and a refrigerator, and you can make wonderful meals in any kitchen if you're inclined to make wonderful meals. Right?
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. It didn't ever matter to me where I worked as long as I could work.
Mm-hmm. So. Awesome.
Yeah. Does that explain? I mean, it sounds a little corny.
It's so hard to put words to it.
Well, that's why I carve, because it's yes, because I can't put words to it.
Yeah,
it's everything I am and everything I've ever experienced.
Right,
and I'm still experiencing.
With writing history, you understand, like you could write a full novel with beautiful words to try and express something more, and you're just still wrapping around
exactly.
It, never getting
and it seems to me that I'm never going to have enough time in my life to say it all.
Yeah. And then what good would it be? Because then I spend my whole life listening to it and not experiencing it. So it's for reference, it's for understanding to get us closer. But then we all have to pick up that chisel.
Come take my class.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. And for everyone, I'm sure it's different. I'm sure when the painters sit in front of their blank canvas, I'm sitting in front of a blank rock, but it's the same kind of thing. You're making something out of nothing. And so you have to start with a clear head and you have to start. That's it. Sometimes people just don't start.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what's going to happen when you start.
I've said many times the hardest part for me about doing art is that first stroke.
Yes. Yes.
It's
And you can't be
seeing
afraid
where
of it
you
because
need to
what's the
start.
difference? If it doesn't come out right, you go on
Yeah.
to the next
And
stroke.
what was it for anyway,
Yes.
right?
It's you just, I always worry more about my students' pieces than my own. Because for them, it's very precious because they're doing this one piece. And if they break it, they get hysterical. If I break it, I go on to the next one.
Yeah.
And you can't be, it has to be precious, but not too precious. Does that make sense?
How much of that is from your personality? How much is from going through it?
I don't know.
When you first started, were you upset when you might have broken a piece or had to shrink it down?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, you just didn't have that same
No,
attachment
I don't
to it.
think so. I don't think so. I mean, I'm very attached to them because when people say, what's your favorite piece? I say whatever I'm working on. Because it is my favorite piece at the moment. But that doesn't mean I don't love all my other children.
Sure.
So, but again, I've been very lucky in being able to do this with my life. And I treasure that. And I take it very seriously. I'm in my studio every day. So so many people can't pursue what I've been able to pursue. And I've seen a lot of talent in my classes, and they have to go get real jobs and make a living. And it's not a good way to make a living, but it's a good way to live.
I love that. Would you mind saying that again?
It's not a good way to make a living, but it's a good way to live.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
So,
with that, if you don't mind sharing a little of your story of how you were able to manage that.
I have a husband who thinks I'm a genius, and children who are very supportive, and parents who are very supportive. And I was allowed. I was supported. I had a great support system. And then I had Neil as my gallery, who was another great support system. So I've had people who believed that I could do this. I wasn't really sure when I first began. And I luckily had support. You know, no one says to you, you're really good, you should do this in class. They don't do that. There's a little jealousy and stuff.
Sure.
You know? But I had my other support system. And I was a little bit older when I started because I had already graduated college. I wasn't young. So I wasn't daunted by people saying, you know, what are you doing? Why are you doing fairy tales? What do you know, what does mythology mean? Nobody needs mythology anymore. You know, why don't you just do the figure? Why don't you just do animals? Why don't you, everybody's got 2 cents to put in. And I basically ignored them.
You were far enough on.
I was okay. Yeah, I was enough of a person already, so that I didn't go with the wind. You know? So, but yeah, you really need someone to believe in you. Everybody needs that, whatever it is you're doing.
And if you don't mind me again poking a little personal at this point, of it sounds like it wasn't that self-belief. It wasn't you believing in yourself. It was the support system you had. Your family.
Oh, absolutely.
Parents,
I did believe in myself, and I was loving what I was doing, but you need to have the other. You need to have the other. It's really important. I think you don't live by yourself. You're not in the world by yourself. You have to build a building around you that holds you up.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. And I think maybe too, kind of the Baba room down there, some symbolism of you weren't driven by your ego. You weren't driven by your own future successes.
I didn't know I was going to have future successes. I don't even have pictures of my first pieces. It was a hope at one point when I got, after a number of years, I thought, okay, people really like this. People are buying it. I'm in galleries. Wow. And what a thing. People actually pay for my work. Every time I called my mother and said I made a sale, she would laugh because I went from somebody bought a piece of pottery for $5 to somebody bought my bronze piece for $1,200. Somebody bought my stone piece for $25,000. I went, and I was always astounded. So it's because it's like a fluke. It's a fluke that people have so many choices for what they buy in their lives that someone would come in and have enough money. I mean, a lot of people love the work, couldn't afford the work, which is why I started doing some smaller pieces for people who love the work and couldn't afford the bigger pieces, but also that someone would come in and have enough money and love your particular thing that you just made and buy it. It was And I always thought it would never happen again. so yeah, it's a very strange thing.
That's
Because you're not selling socks, you're selling your soul. So it's very weird. Yeah, that whole dynamic. This is much nicer. I love having people just come in and I make them happy and they don't have to worry about that part of it. It's really easier on me.
well, I just want to again highlight it's what you're sharing is different than what a lot of people say of you're not, and it doesn't sound like throughout the whole journey you weren't trying to get stuff and you didn't expect it the whole
No,
way through.
I didn't. I was astounded that I was even doing this. I never expected this. I thought I was going to write. So, yeah.
Just finding
Yeah.
yourself.
And I always really had, every time I sold a piece, I bought someone else's work, which is why we have this great collection of art, because I loved what other people were doing too. And Neil used to say he only knew two people in his gallery, two artists that bought and appreciated other artists' work. And I was one of them. But I don't paint, so I loved what people were painting. I would love to have it around me and buy it. After a while, I got to the point where I could trade with people. That was really good. So then I just traded with people. And so we have this wonderful collection that we can share with the world, which is great.
Yeah, and I'll go back to something you had just said. The pieces that you have, the ones that you've created or the ones that you've collected and displayed here, as you said, it's a piece of the artist's soul in the expression.
Absolutely.
And
that's part of what we
out
want here. That's I want emotion. It can be sad, it can be happy, it can be, you want to scream. I don't care. I want feeling, I want magic, I want people happy but moved, and I want them to think when they're here, because everything here has multiple levels. So you can walk in here and say that's beautiful and get that out of it, or you can walk in here and say that's beautiful. Oh wait, there's a story connected with that. Or you can walk in here and say, wait a minute, that's not how I see that. I see it differently, and why did the artist do it that way? And then you can start a conversation, and it's the conversation. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I will speak for Kevin a little bit. When he first was here and then came back and had a meeting with us, he was like, you both need to come to this place. It was like, I'm not even going to try to describe, but he was so moved by it.
Well, he brought me to tears.
I don't think that's what he was saying. We need to come experience.
I know, but he did. He did. It's very emotional for me, and it's been an emotional journey for me. Because I really wanted to do this and had no idea what I was doing. So luckily Lisa walked in and said, I can help you. And it's been wonderful, but it's been evolving, and it's still evolving.
Yeah.
So
and when we pulled in, I was kind of like, oh, and Raj was like, what do you think so far? I'm like, there's life in these pieces. They're very much alive. It wasn't something
and they don't
that
have
was
to be
done.
Perfect. They don't have to be perfect. They have to be alive.
Because what is perfect? Like
exactly.
It's not a static thing like a perfect sunset. It's always different.
It has to have feeling. It has to have soul. It has to have heart.
But there is,
and then the intellect doesn't help. It helps as well, but that's another level. It's just another level.
And that level is going to reach everyone differently as well. But
it certainly does.
If it doesn't have that life in it,
right?
You've got
because I've seen artists who do. I've even had students. They do everything is perfect. It's perfect, anatomically perfect. It's dead, and that's not what we wanted here.
Right.
So we've been pretty careful about curating and having that happen here.
Yeah, and I think that life in it also draws out of us whatever we might have. And like you said, this person came in and was like, what's with all these dark pieces?
Maybe he's dark. I didn't even ask him.
Yeah. Or it's bringing light to a side that he leaves in the shadows.
Yes.
Like for me, some of the fairy tale pieces down there, I feel quote unquote darkness.
Well, they were.
Them.
They were. They were how to live in the world.
Those characters and those times, and those settings.
Yes. It was. But the world was dangerous, and it's still dangerous.
Mm-hmm. But if you bring that energy, that life out of that, and you walk into
Yes.
a room where that energy is alive, it's like, whoa, this is dark.
Yes.
Hey, better watch out. The world is real.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's
So one of the artists from California, Alwa, said about the museum, she said, "You will be the same, but different." I loved that. I loved that because it's so true for this place. Hopefully.
yeah, it's definitely, you could come in here and you could walk through, like you said, and you could might go, oh, that's beautiful, and then walk out.
Yes.
But if you just take a moment, there is a story in every one of the
Yes.
pieces.
Yes.
And the pieces that you've collected in this space, you can feel that.
Good.
And at least
Good.
we've shared that we could
Good.
feel that. So there's definitely something to this. And maybe just from an artist perspective, you feel it, but I don't think so. I think a lot of people could
Good.
walk in and
Well,
feel
that's
something.
that's what we were hoping for, and that's how you know you've succeeded.
That's wonderful. I'll say thank you so much for taking this time to field some of my questions, share some of your story and how you got here, and how can people find you, how can people reach you.
Well, hopefully we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are reaching out with more and more, and a lot of word of mouth now, and we're reaching out to groups. We're doing a 2-month show at the community college, but I would love to just keep growing and have music here and I don't know, poetry readings and all manner of the arts here. I think it would just lend itself to that so well.
And what are your hours of like? When can people visit?
They can, at the moment, they can come on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 12 to 6.
So right here in Lafayette, New Jersey, right?
Yes, it is.
Awesome.